the question often comes up, if you've been injured in a motorcycle accident, how do you choose the right motorcycle injury lawyer? And, you know, writers are probably familiar. There's certain law firms that, you know, represent like, hey, you know, we're great, we're fantastic. We love writers. I got to tell you a true story. So, I was talking to one of these lawyers on the phone who actually has like a whole Harley inside his office. I think they reconstructed it or something, and so his put it back together and stuff. And so, you know, and he has all these pictures of him posing and, you know, whatever. And I won't tell you his name, but I said, really? I mean, you know that what the statistics are if you do get in an accident, you know, if you're on a motorcycle, it's much more likely to be a very serious accident, have big medical bills, have long-term problems. I said, do you really ride out there on the freeway all the time? And he goes, do you think I'm crazy? And I said, okay, well, just checking. But anyway, so, but I'll give you an example of a lot of these. There aren't that many law firms, but there's some that, you know, hold themselves out and say, we're the motorcycle accident attorney and stuff. And usually what they end up doing is the bills are so much higher than the insurance company limits that most of what they do is just negotiate with hospitals and stuff to try to get the amounts that they have to pay back less down, so their client ends up with, you know, a couple thousand or 3,000 in their pocket, so they don't end up with zero. And you know, I guess that's better than nothing. But what we do is we're looking for insurance that isn't obvious. So not just the at-fault driver, but there's what's called, an attorney explained this the other day when somebody called in this situation, there's what's called underinsured motorist coverage, and that can be available when it's not obvious. And I'll give you, as the attorney explained the other day to a motorcyclist that was involved in a serious accident, and the other driver only had 25,000. Their medical bills were way more than that, okay? And said, well, do you own any other vehicles that have full coverage and might have this uninsured motorist coverage? And they did own some other vehicles that had full coverage. Unfortunately, they did not have underinsured motorist coverage, which sometimes we can actually make a claim against the agent who didn't give them that coverage, because that's kind of I'll just say, a big mistake or a big boo-boo. And we can get an expert to say, no, if they knew they were a motorcycle rider and they have a policy on their truck should have had underinsured motorist coverage. And if they didn't, that's a professional mistake. And so we can make a claim on the agent's own insurance policy. And there's other ways that we can find additional insurance. So even if you've been told, hey, that's all there is, there's just 25,000 or 50 or whatever, call us and let one of our attorneys review that situation and see if we can find some additional insurance coverage. If we do, it's like free money, found money. Another way, as an example, the attorney explained, is if there's somebody else in the household, a relative, that has a vehicle with full coverage, the motorcyclist may be able to use that coverage and not even affect the insurance rates of their brother or their father or their mother. And then there's even ways beyond that, but you need to call and let us, one of our attorneys, analyze the situation, and then we can tell you if that's a possibility or not. And so all those things go into, does somebody, just take the easy money, the quick money, and then are they out of there? That's probably not the motorcycle injury attorney that you want. But can they tell you about situations where, we had one where a motorcyclist, very serious injury, and the insurance policy was only $100,000. And, but the person who was at fault had a house that was totally paid off. And we got, in addition to the $100,000, we got them to pay several thousands of dollars more on top of that, because we said, hey, otherwise we might need to knock on your front door. And so, is the law firm willing to do that? And another way that you can tell if you've got the right motorcyclist law firm is, what do they do if you do get 100,000 or 500,000 or, in rare cases, $1 million? What do they do? We had a situation where a 20-year-old was riding a motorcycle with a friend, and they both got hit by an older lady, and she had 100,000 insurance limits, and our client got 100,000 and his friend got 100,000. The difference was, we had our client's money put into a lifetime annuity, and he's still getting money today, and his buddy who was riding behind him blew all of his money in less than a year. And then the parents of our client called us and said, oh my gosh, Scott, thank you so much. Otherwise, our son would have been just like his friend. So that's another thing to look out for. I hope that gives you an idea of what you really want to look for if you've been in a motorcycle accident. Ask the deeper questions. Don't necessarily be impressed with that Harley in the office. Ask a few more questions, and I think you'll make the right decision. So remember, the call is free, the information is free, and if you've been injured while riding a motorcycle, even if you've been told there's no more insurance, give us a call, because we do care about you, even if we don't ride motorcycles ourselves, because that's our own choice. Call us.